Hello everybody and welcome back to 3D Printing 101. So in this lesson, what we're going to be going over is the different options you have for design softwares. So whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, having the right design software is essential for learning and adapting and solving the problems and applying those to the real world. So we're going to go over from beginner up to advanced and the different categories that you're going to need to consider when you're deciding which software to use. Now there are two main types of 3D design software. The first one is better for designing functional parts, better for designing mechanical objects, and this is going to allow you to make very intricate designs that can function, the same kind of things that engineers generally use. And the second type is not as good at making practical designs that are designed specifically for a certain function, and this is not what an engineer would use. This sort of category is better for sculpting and making 3D shapes, sculptures, figurines. This is what they would use in making 3D movies, 3D animated movies. So yeah, most likely you're going to be going with the first one, at least to start out and for what we're going to be doing here. But know that there are other options that will allow you to do different things. So let's kick things off with Tinkercad. We already talked about Tinkercad, and I actually showed you how to use it back in Unit 1 when we designed our own 3D printed keychains. Tinkercad is really great, and what sets it apart is it's really easy to use, and it has a nice drag and drop software. So it is arguably the best, or one of the best softwares to start with as a beginner, and you can design a lot of things with it. A lot of advanced people that I know still use Tinkercad, at least when they're making basic designs, because you can create cool things, but there are a lot of limitations. So if you keep going with this hobby for a while, you're probably going to want to shift away from Tinkercad. Now next up we have Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is actually owned by the same company that created Tinkercad. This company, Autodesk, makes a wide variety of different softwares, and Fusion 360 is just a much more capable software. It's what I personally use. Now usually this is paid, but there are ways to get it for free, and it is legal, I promise. But it has parametric design capabilities, which we'll get into later, but basically that just means that it allows you to make changes and adapt the design throughout the entire process, and you don't have to erase the entire part. This is one of the ones that's closer to what an actual engineer would use. Fusion 360 is a very professional design software, but it really does not take that long to learn. I would not start here if I were doing this all again, but definitely shifting to this in the first couple months, it's very doable, and I'm going to outline exactly how to do this. This is the software that I'm going to be using throughout the tutorial, throughout this unit. So if that plays any role, know that you will be able to follow along probably a little bit easier, because it's going to be exactly what I'm using. All right, Autodesk Inventor. Inventor is, again, made by the same people that made Tinkercad and Fusion 360, so it's part of the Autodesk sort of suite, and Inventor is much more tailored to engineering and product design. So this is exactly the same software that engineers use, and product developers. So yeah, if you are interested in getting more into that, or you want to learn a professional software that might benefit you later in life or in your career, then definitely look into Inventor. Now Inventor is not free. It actually can get pretty expensive, but for students they actually have a special deal where if you are a student with a registered school, then you can actually sign up and get Fusion 360 or Inventor completely for free. So you're going to have to look into that and we'll talk about that later on in the video so that you can figure out exactly whether or not you can do that, and check in with your school to see if they have what you need in order to do that. Because if you have that option, it's a really great opportunity. Like, Inventor is one of the greatest softwares in the world for making advanced parts and mechanical objects. They use Inventor all over the place at automotive manufacturers, machines that they use usually in manufacturing, like robots and sensors and the things that actually build cars and stuff, and making conveyor belts. They use it in aerospace engineering, and all of this is possible because of the huge range of tools that they have. You can do sheet metal design, 3D design, CNC, laser, sculpting. All of these different features are worked into one software, so you don't have to go between different softwares and worry about the conversion. You can do it all straight within here. Now, all of the softwares that we've talked about so far are really part of that first group that we talked about, where they're better for making useful tactical prints and designs. Now we're going to move into Blender. Blender is more of a part of the second group. You can use it to make more practical, more structured 3D objects, but generally what it's used for is sculpting and modeling. So Blender is all over the place. They use it in movies, they use it in TV shows, they use it to make sculptures and things like that. Some places that you might know Blender from are the movie Next Gen on Netflix. This whole movie was created pretty much inside of Blender. So like it's Netflix, so Blender's pretty legit. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The entire Lego scene was made by this 14-year-old Preston Mutanga in Blender, and a bunch of other parts of the movie also use Blender, but this was just a really cool example. Definitely check out his story. It's super awesome. So like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, one of the probably greatest and most accomplished animated films of all time, used Blender. But yeah, as we talked about, it's great for things like sculpting and modeling, but it's not as good for making precise parts, etc. Now SketchUp, we're moving back into the first sort of category of different softwares, but SketchUp is a slightly more capable software than things like Tinkercad, but they have web-based versions, and it is relatively simple to use and learn, just like Tinkercad, but it's more capable. So yeah, definitely look into SketchUp if you are new to this whole game. They also have SketchUp for schools, so if you're taking a class in school, like probably between elementary school and high school, that has some sort of 3D printing, they might start you off with SketchUp because it's easy to use, but you can do a lot of things with it, even more than Tinkercad. Now, last but not least, we have SolidWorks. SolidWorks is like the industry standard software package that's widely used for manufacturing designs and engineering projects. It is very similar to Inventor in that it is up there in the ranking for the most capable 3D tools to use. They use it at places like Apple, NASA, all of these huge spaces. It's space approved, but it's not necessarily something I would start with. It's not even something that I really use, but it is a good idea to think about maybe in the future. SolidWorks is paid again, and it is relatively expensive. Sometimes you can get a deal with your school if they have SolidWorks in them, usually universities rather than grade schools, but it's definitely a good idea to look into. Check with your teachers or your school administrators to see if they have that. But for 99.9% of the things that you're going to be doing, you don't need SolidWorks. It's just something cool. They've got simulations and advanced sort of techniques and capabilities that other softwares don't have, and that's what allows them to use it in the aerospace industry and things like that, where there are very high stakes to the things that they're making. So that was kind of an overview of all of the different softwares, but now let's go a little bit more in detail into the individual ones and when you would want to use any specific one. So we already dove back into Tinkercad way back in Unit 1, and Tinkercad and SketchUp are relatively similar, so I would start with one of the two. They're both totally free and web-based, so you don't even need to have a super capable computer to run them. Tinkercad you can set up in 5 minutes, and SketchUp might take a little bit longer to sort of get running, but yeah, it's pretty quick, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. If you're serious about 3D printing though, and I'm thinking that you probably are because you've made it this far in the course, so it's clear to me that you're committed at least partially, then Fusion 360 is definitely a good place to look in the future. If you're maybe a month in or so, or if you're just ready to dive in and you have some previous experience with art or design, then Fusion 360 it's a really good place to go. Tinkercad, Fusion 360, and Inventor are all owned by Autodesk. And something cool that Autodesk offers is it actually will provide the service for free to almost any student. Like, I'm not going to say every student, but check with your school, ask your teachers or your school administrators, like your counselors, if that's something that's available. You can also check on their website. I'll put the link down below so you can check out how to set this up for yourself. It's not as complicated as it seems like it would be to get several hundred or several $1,000 software for free. But so yeah, you can get Inventor that usually goes for thousands of dollars, and it's up there in the running for the most powerful 3D design software. So yeah, definitely check this out. This is the basic process for how to set it up as a student. First, you have to confirm your eligibility using your school provided email. You might need a teacher or a school administrator to help you with some of the setup, but if you go to your counseling office or whatever teacher is most likely to teach you that kind of thing, then they should know. Then you can create an Autodesk account for free on their website. Download and install your software from the Get Products page. Again, I'll link that below. And once that's all complete, you can start the software, sign into your account, and begin designing. As we talked about a little bit, you can also get SolidWorks in a similar way, but this depends more broadly on what kind of school you go to and if they have that at the school. Now, if you're not a student or you can't get this to work for some reason, maybe it's the summer, or maybe it just won't work for you, then you're in luck, because you can still get Fusion 360 totally for free as long as you're not a professional making a boatload of money from it. So it's not the entire full version, but it's really all you need to do a lot of stuff. So I'll left a link down below where you can check it out. It's pretty simple setup process. You can do it, today, start designing with it today. Fusion usually runs for several $100s per year, so this is a great way to design stuff, and it's what I personally use. It's what I'm going to be using, again, throughout this entire unit. So if you want to follow along with me, then it might be helpful to install Fusion 360. There are tons of softwares out there, and it's a very, very vast array of different options. So wherever you are in your 3D printing journey, there's an option for you that should work. And whatever you're trying to make, there's a tool out there that will allow you to make it. There are a lot of great options, so don't be afraid to explore, to experiment with different ones, because you can always move on to another one. And if you start with a more basic one, then you can sort of learn the foundations of how to design and apply those to all of the future softwares that you might be using. If you follow along with this unit and you practice these skills, no matter what software you're using, it will be helpful to you in any career that you have regarding engineering or design. So download a software, sign up, and I'll see you in the next lesson.